Welcome back to another episode of the Humans of Developer DAO podcast. We're super excited to bring this series back, starting off with season 1 with Kemp. In this episode, we'll get a chance to learn more about Kemp, who is a core contributor within the DAO, and about his journey starting off as a developer. Secondly, learning more about the creation of the foundation of the DAO, and finally, the future plans as we head into season 1. We also want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of this episode, which is EPNS. EPNS is a decentralized communication protocol, and please check out the description below to learn more about how you can start developing with EPNS. Now, let's head in over to the episode to learn more about Kemp and all the awesome stuff he's been able to do within the DAO. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Humans of Developer DAO podcast. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Kemp. So Kemp is someone that I've seen throughout the DAO a couple times. The moment you join, you'll see him active throughout all the calls that take place within every guild. And it's an absolute pleasure to be talking to him because he is actually a core contributor. So he's made a difference from the start of the DAO to what it is today. I'm super excited. But before we start, the way we usually like to do these introductions is by giving you the mic and giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself and tell your story. So Kemp.
Yeah, thanks, man. Super nice to meet you as well. Chatting before this is the first time we've spoken, right? And it's been fun, man. So yeah, really pleased to be here. All the stuff that you've been doing with this is awesome. It's great to hear more about people's stories. Like, I've loved it. Background on me. So I grew up in the UK. I kind of went to uni like never really knowing what I wanted to do, so I just like defaulted to business, and like the most like ambiguous, pointless degree in the world. Didn't really spend a huge amount of time at uni. I spent most of my time having fun and working in music, which was cool. It was great. Eventually like left uni and left the kind of like the music world, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it's very common in the UK when you don't really know what you want to do. As soon as you put your CV up somewhere, you'll get called for a recruitment job. So I ended up working in recruitment, first off in marketing for like a year or two, but then it switched into tech. Excuse me. And that's kind of where my like journey into tech really started. I was always a pretty big nerd when I was younger. I used to read loads of like army books and stuff, and I loved computers. Excuse me, but I'd never programmed, or I have never got like deep into tech. But from speaking to all of these amazing people, like both people applying for jobs and like learning about what they do, and then as I got kind of like more senior and was working with like engineering leadership teams and founders and stuff, like it just ballooned in terms of the interest, and I was just like, this all sounds so much more interesting than recruitment. So I started learning to code. Probably like mid-20s, like mid-late 20s. I got really lucky. The company let me build some internal apps, and then started doing some community stuff there. And then I left June last year to invest in becoming like a programmer full-time. I took like 2 months out and then started doing Josh Kumu, I think his name is, CSS for JavaScript devs, which is awesome, and a load of other stuff. And then Nada popped up, and I saw a YouTube video of him launching the DAO, and I was like, I'd already kind of interested in Web3. I was like, I'm just going to join, and then haven't really coded since November, and kind of ended up where I am now, like fully down the rabbit hole, and loving it. It's great.
No, that's awesome. So before we jump into the DAO and Web3, I know you talked about your journey into your tech from recruitment and having all done different things. What was the one interesting thing that led you into tech? And you talked about building different apps. Was there anything particular that even till this day that you go back on and just like look up?
Yeah, it's really good question. So one of the interesting things about being a recruiter is everyone thinks like you're an asshole. Like, it's just like when you meet people, it's like the default position, right? And it's quite funny to try and operate in that space. I don't know if there was something that took me down there other than like curiosity, like the problems that people were solving in all of these startups, like this, like pre-Web3 blockchain, really, in terms of like being something that's widely out there, were just super interesting. Like even building like anything from building a website to an e-commerce store to like doing machine learning and data science, like all of this stuff was just like a never-ending rabbit hole of interest. Yeah, I can't remember the end of the question.
No, the other part was what kind of the application that you built.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So like I've whenever I was working in recruitment as well, I always hated the like lack of automation in the job. Like it's super manual. You basically are like a phone jockey, right? And like it's fun talking to people, but it gets kind of boring, and then you have to like record all of this information and blah blah blah. So I built like an internal app to allow people to. We had like a really bad setup for how we stored documentation.
Yeah.
So it's like an internal app that allowed people to sign in and then just like find stuff more easily, basically. But it was super cool. Like I think it was a Create React app.
Yeah.
Probably like 6 months or a year after React came out, maybe a bit later. And then the second thing I built was I was a bit more experienced, and it was about something I was a bit more passionate about. I ran like a meetup series in London, like a tech meetup series called it's called Growable, and we built like an event platform for it. So it's like a website, like a Jamstack website built on Gatsby.
Yeah. And
then all of the signups and ticketing for the events was kind of like done in the background using like a few web wired together services like email services and stuff like that. But that was like really cool because it was like I helped set that thing up, and then we built the app for it, and I really cared about it, and I felt like it was the first thing that I built where it was like this is cool. I can like see the power of like what you can do with technology when there's something that you care about. Like the problems are like, broadly speaking, like they're pretty much all solvable. And yeah, man, it was super fun, and that was like the final nail in the coffin, I think, for doing much more recruitment.
That's really awesome, because I think just touching on two things that I've learned about you so far is that you love building communities and like meeting new people. And then two would be like the technology aspect. So like bringing that together, clearly there's a lot of passion going on, kind of like led you to that. And the automation part too. I keep finding it so interesting that like so many industries are lacking like technology, though we're moving so fast and like innovative ways of having Web3 and like going really advanced with like Neuralink, whatever it may be, the craziest things and technologies that we have. But even the simplest things of creating some sort of automation, the recruitment process, automation, like just the analysis, whatever tasks, it just like accelerates the process, just makes people's lives so much easier, which is something that like I think we should all start to do. But it's awesome to see you actually take the initiative to even do it. Yeah,
but like everything down to like you're a coder, right?
Yeah.
So everything down from like writing like aliases in the terminal, so I don't have to write git status and it's like GS. Like that gives me so much satisfaction, and it might only save me like a minute a week, but like
same thing as like opening up VS Code with code dot.
It's just yeah, exactly. Yeah. So much better.
Amazing.
I couldn't believe it. When I saw that, I was just like, this has changed my life. This is great.
Yeah, but oh no, it's like a hard, like I have to do it every time I open VS Code now. So it's
yeah, exactly.
So kind of now going into November, last November, when you discovered the video of Nader talking about Developer DAO and Web3, what made you even want to join in the first place, and what was your introduction into it?
Yeah, good question. So really it was Nader and his profile. I had like followed him from a distance for a while, and he'd always put out like amazing content. He always seemed like a really genuine person who was out there doing it for the right reasons and spoke his mind and was kind of open and honest, and the quality of stuff that he was putting out was great. I think he launched the DAO after doing his like introduction to building a full stack Solidity dApp. I think that came first, and I think I had done that.
Okay.
And then like a month or so later, I could be wrong with the timelines, but this is how I remember it. He had done that, and I thought it was great, and I thought and then I started following him more closely, and then he released this NFT, and I was already kind of like a fair bit down that rabbit hole, but I was mainly like trading and losing money.
Yeah.
I
want to say both.
yeah, probably giving myself a massive tax bill that I just really don't understand. Well, we say massive, it's definitely not massive, but tax bill that I don't understand. And I think I was looking for something without really knowing it that I wanted to get involved in. And like I had kind of looked in like Bankless and like a few other places, but I couldn't really find anything and like take that first step. But because that had just been launched, it's like, this just sounds really, really cool. And it's from someone that I've already like have some awareness of and respect, and there seems to be some buzz. So I just joined, man. And yeah, it was kind of crazy, but yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. I say into the DAO. That's kind of where it all started.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah, like I think similar to me, I've watched Nader from afar of his videos and doing his tutorials, but I actually discovered Developer DAO at Web3Con, and it was like the last weekend, and that's when I got to speak to some amazing people, including like Manny, Josh was there, and that's what led me to join Developer DAO. So that was like a really cool way. So I did have to, get the NFT, but it was, even though in the span of couple months, I feel like there was so much that like I missed out on, but at the same time, I like so much I had to catch up on. And since then, it's pretty crazy how far the DAO has come. So like another question for you would be, like, after you first joined, what made you want to keep coming back?
Yeah, super good question. So like when it first started, like Nada like openly did it as an experiment, right? So like live stream launch NFT, like, hey, buy this for free. It's just gas. Like, I think it probably still cost about like $70 or something like that. But like, that's not his fault. Like he gave it away for free. But there was just random people joining and random people that started a Discord server who I think were either in the YouTube comments or contacting him on Twitter. I think the guy who started the Discord channel was called Connor, who's not very active anymore, but I think he works at Station, but super nice guy. And he literally made that happen, got all of the token authentication, all that stuff up. And then just people started pouring in, right? Yeah. And I was probably like a week after, I think something like that, maybe a week, 10 days. But like as soon as you got in there, there's just like, you got Nada, who is obviously like very, very well known. You then got other people coming in that are like talking about what they do, that are clearly doing really cool stuff. Some of them still in the Web 2 space, some of them already in the Web 3 space. And obviously I'd already caught the bug. And the vibes were just super positive, right? It's like from then until now, there have been like very few situations in Developer DAO where the vibes have been poor. Like it's always been amazing. Everyone loves each other. And that happened like sort of straight from the start. I think like after like a week or so, like everyone was like, oh, we should do X or we should do Y. We should like start thinking about like organizing things and I just kind of like messaged Nada. He would put out and ask for like, does anyone want to help get this going? And I was like, yeah, man, like love to help moderate, still thinking of a DAO, like a Discord gaming community or something.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a few days after that, like I had that like I don't know if it was like my like a bit of ADHD or like anxiety of seeing people saying all of this stuff and like this stuff's so cool, but like we're not doing any of it. And I was just like, I used to talk a lot to Manny, Withheart, and Greg. We used to have like chats on video call, and I can't remember when this happened, but eventually it just was like, screw it, like let's just organize a call and I'll try and like get people together and see if we can start figuring out like, okay, how do we evolve this into something more than like just a crazy conversation with loads of like cool, fun, super good vibe people. And then it literally all just like evolved from there in terms of like, there were like quite a few people who were like super influential in those vibes and like helping people learn. And like, it just kind of like naturally evolved from there into kind of all the way into where it is today. And like, I guess the whilst I no longer code, I haven't really coded since November because it's been all community and stuff, which has been super fun. Like, absolutely don't regret any of it. Yeah, it's been wild, man. And it's like, it's a strange how like life happens to you in that way, and you end up in situations that you didn't plan for or expect, but like they end up meaning so much, like to you, and you get so much enjoyment out of it. It's been a completely unplanned, fun ride, I think. Yeah, it's been good.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple things you mentioned like I want to just pick at. It was like the first was like the bug, the Web3 bug. The
Yeah.
moment you get it, it's like an itch and it does not go away. And like I can attest to that because the moment you just having conversations with people that like kind of share the same interests, in the sense that Web3, the community is, I think, the best part. And Developer DAO was one that like just had it right from the start of like you meet people that are just gonna teach you more, or just gonna like spark that like little thing that you just needed to like go down another rabbit hole, right? And then you end up meeting like people that are working in Web3 and like are teaching you about tools that you can use, or like in your like Web2 job. So it's like a community that like that just keeps growing, which has been really cool. The other thing I wanted to ask you about like is if you can talk about, when you first started and had that conversation with Nader, what kind of work did you do, and like what led you to do the work that you do now?
Yeah, good question, man. On the like Web3 journey,
Yeah.
like I think like most people, I started it looking at it as like a speculative thing, right? Like, this is like a fun way to make money.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand any of it, but then like as you start peeling back the layers, it's like, oh my god. And like I think the like possibilities and impacts that it can have on like ways of working, society, like financial fairness, like all of this stuff. Like, it just means that once you're past that, like that edge, it's like it's too late. Like, you're already in.
Yeah.
Very, very few like people that I've seen take that like that little look over the edge have kind of like ended up not following it through.
That's the one thing I wanted to mention too, is like I think we start on the same route of like you see crypto and you see money. So that's usually the first internet everyone goes to, but it's only like a certain amount of people that actually end up going like peeling down the layers of like, hey, why am I investing into this meme
Yeah.
coin, or should I be investing into like a layer one that has potential and like is doing stuff? So you
Yeah.
have like this like very niche people that end up enjoying doing that part. So it's cool to see that's how you did it too.
Yeah, I think it's common for everyone, right? It's
Yeah.
and I think it's right now because it's so early, and like the user experience of stuff is not fantastic in
Yeah.
many cases, and I think as a result of that, the like applicability of the technology is it's not easy for it's harder, shall we say, for people that aren't developers to kind of get that bug quickly. I think the other people that can really embrace it are people that maybe either work in finance or and law, because there's interesting concepts around like codifying law and decentralizing finance, and then people who it like seriously affects their lives. So like people in countries where they have hyperinflation, or people who are trying to escape hardship, that the only way they realize that the only way that they can move money, or the easiest way for them to move money is like crypto. And then like, but to like it's going to sound bad, but like the general public, like it's harder to see the use case, and it just looks like a Ponzi scheme, I think, to some people at some times. And I guess that's until we start solving all the UX problems and like maybe go through the next cycle and all of that stuff. And like maybe there's another leap that we'll take and we'll cross that barrier. But it kind of makes sense to me of why there's just so many developers in the space and why we kind of have that journey.
Yeah, no, but that just gets me so excited. I just know that like the next couple of years, hopefully not as long, is going to be like building, making really good like connections with like people that like share the same experiences with you and like kind of the same mindset. And then mainly would be like just good vibes all around, even through the bad times. because that's when like all the cool stuff happens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When you're missing the distraction of like crazy market moves in tokens that are named after animals, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's whether like proper building happens.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, the other question that I asked was kind of the work you have done
Mhm.
from the start and then the work you do now. And the reason I asked that is because you are like as a co-contributor, you have done so much incredible things, so many, but not everyone gets to see it, right? So I would love to hear and like for you to just tell everyone about all the different things that you started off doing and like all the plans slash things that you're doing now.
Cool, man. It's always hard to like talk about yourself, but
It's a tough one, I know.
yeah. But like, I think the first most important thing I would like, thank you for the comments, but I think the most important thing I would say is like there are lots of people that have done an awful lot in developer DAO, and like it would take too long to like name all of them. So like I won't try. I think like early on, like literally no one really had an idea of like how this would work, and we're absolutely still figuring that out now, and it's starting to pick up more pace now. Kind of more people have rightly kind of been brought into, or some of these problems have been opened up to more of the core contributors to help solve. But like early on, it was like just putting in meetings so people could come together and chat. And like we called them town halls. Like they're on the YouTube. Many of those early town halls. I don't know if the first one's on there, but a lot of them are on there. And it was just like figuring out like what did people want the space to be, and not like me figuring it out, like everyone figuring it out. The only thing that I was really doing at the early days was like I put that space there, and with a few other people we were like, let's just organize a meeting and do them on a weekly bi-weekly basis, and then everything just kind of evolved from there, like around like the mission. I think was kind of naturally really aligned with why everyone joined the DAO anyway, like to help new entrants into the space learn and have an impact, and like onboard people and support them to do stuff. Like that was felt like really, really natural. And like throughout this time, like we were all learning as we went. And a lot of the advice that was coming in from people who had like walked this path before was that like DAOs are amazing and they're really, really powerful constructs, but trying to solve problems like with like thousands of people all at the same time is like really, really, really difficult. Yeah. So we had like people naturally bubbling up around the DAO in certain areas that clearly had passions about that area, or were already doing interesting stuff in that area, and like that's kind of how it evolved into the ideas of what is currently the core team. So like given it like Will, for example, was clearly super passionate about governance, and he had done a lot of research and was bringing a lot of interesting thoughts to the table. Mark was clearly really interested in writing and being able to communicate the story of the DAO and create a platform for people, or work with people to create a platform for everyone. With Heart, everyone loves With Heart, right? And I think his background in chakra and the help that he was giving everyone, like everyone just seemed to kind of evolve into these positions, or into these like places where if we were going to look at maybe giving some people some responsibility for trying to move stuff forward, that like it felt like that those people were naturally evolving into those positions. And I'm sure there's like a million different ways we could have done it, which might have worked out better. Stuff might have happened faster. It might have felt fairer. Like one of the big challenges we have in the core team is that it's basically exclusively white men. There's no women, there's no underrepresented groups. And obviously that wasn't intentional, but like it's when you're there, it's like, damn, like we probably should have thought about this more in terms of how we can make this fairer. But I think Will put out a really good post the other day about the fact that developer DAO has been built on hard mode. So it's on the forum if no one's seen it. And he's what I'm gonna ruin his words here, but like basically what it's saying is most DAOs start with a plan and they have a very clear focus of what they want to do and a structure in mind for how it's going to work, all the way down from like the DAO itself to who's playing what role, but then also like literally how the Discord server works or is structured or the forum or whatever. Like developers DAO had none of that. So, and then like thousands of people joined, and then everyone's been trying to like build the plane as you fly it, if you were. And yeah, I guess kind of along that journey, there's been lots of amazing people that have stood up into take ownership of lots of different areas of work. Like it would be impossible to name everyone. So as I said, I won't really try, because I'll probably feel unfair on people that would have been maybe like missed out. And I think early on, my part in that was back to like originally getting those town halls going. It's just like trying to create space for stuff to move forward. Like no matter how like imperfect or whatever the approach to doing it was, and then trying to work with people that felt like they were looking to or wanting or hoping or would be interested in taking some like responsibility in certain areas to try and get some structure in place. And that's kind of what evolved into the guilds and the core team, as I said. And then since then, there's been some like big moments in the DAO, I think, like when the NFT sold out and the decision that was taken to launch the ERC20 was a big move, and had some interesting reactions around the community. I think what had given us the confidence for the DAO to really push forward early on was that agreement with the mutual grant with Gitcoin, who have been like great partners for helping sort of fund early operations. But again, like quite contentious, right? Like all of these things are difficult to do in a big space, and for better or worse, a small group of people took responsibility for a lot of that stuff. And then I think over time, as things, I've had certain challenges along the way, like personally, and kind of lost focus in the DAO a little bit, and like other people have stepped up to take pick up a lot of that stuff that I dropped. But like throughout the whole thing, like I think what's been great is everyone has like this shared like fundamental feeling and belief in the DAO, and like are acting in good intentions. And as we're doing it on hard mode, like everyone's learning as we go.
No, I think everything you said is encapsulated in the ending, which is like it was built on hard mode, right? I think that there's no way for a DAO, for a community to be built when there's to be built successfully, I would say, when there's like hundreds of people pouring in, you're having to meet and mandate into like so many legal things, so many factors, guilds, different interests of different people as well. So it's awesome to see, like, though there are some like things that do need to be like fixed, everyone acknowledges it. It's not like it's just being like put to the side. I constantly see, new initiatives being built. Like, I think that like the moment you join and you want to do something, there's always like full reign, full support to like go ahead and do it. And then on top of that, there's always a lot of support to actually continue to, reflect on the things we've already done. So I think that's like the beneficial part, that we're not just stagnant. Or at least I've noticed that like the core team nor like all the guild leaders are never stagnant. I'm just like of what their voices are like, but rather like, okay, like let's reflect on things that we've done, and like let's talk about how we can make it better.
Yeah. I think like everyone really like feels like that. I think and it's coming from the right place. I think there are definitely like definitely ways we could maybe do that better. which I think is really coming up now with a lot of the core contributors like pushing to get involved in a lot of these things that we've maybe kept a bit too close. But it's just so obvious that like there are so many people that care about this space and like want it to be successful, that like I have like super positive like hopes for everyone here in the future. Like I think there could be some really cool stuff that we eventually are able to do.
Absolutely. And then I think this is kind of goes on to the next question that I had for you, but we've touched on a couple of things, but is there anything particular that you see the DAO doing more, whether it's initiatives, whether it's things that you're working on, or perhaps doing less of, improving and things like that? I know you were working on a new initiative for DD members to get exclusive kind of contributions or be able to get exclusive perks. So I'd love for to showcase that too.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk. Like, I think quite happy to kind of explain what the idea is behind perks and what I hope it can do for the DAO. I think the mission of the DAO to like accelerate the education and impact of a new wave of builders in the space, and then like onboard people, support them to learn and build stuff. Like a lot of that has felt like it's been a little bit hasn't moved as fast as it probably should have, and I think there is some frustration, rightly so, in the community around that. Whilst we've been trying to figure out how to set up the foundation, which is hopefully not far away, and I think it's really important that now we're like pretty much there, that we look at that mission and those values and those goals, and we lean into like moving forwards as like the core piece of it, right? Like everything that we're doing should be geared towards those goals, right down from like what I or anyone else is doing, or the guilds are doing, or the project teams are doing. Like it should always be in pursuit on some level to those goals. And I think the overarching theme for season 0 was foundations, right? Getting all this stuff in place. And I know Mark Willavim has mentioned this a few times, but it kind of feels like maybe the focus for season 1 and the foreseeable future, at least from my perspective, should be about like education. Like, how can we really focus on helping our members learn and ramp up their skills, and then be able to do what they want with those skills, whether it be contribute in the DAO or whether it be go get an awesome job in Web3. Like it feels to me like education and like supporting the people in the DAO is like the focus. Feels like that would be a good focus for season 1. Yeah, and I think speaking to Phil and Meowie and Ropats and others about this last night, and they were like obviously doing amazing work on the education platform, and they could really do with more support, and they could really do, given that it is like core to our mission, and it kind of just feels like education would be the right thing to focus on next, because I think it would be the biggest value add for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason, like there's some specific Discord channels, although the Discord can be a bit daunting to kind of navigate. Specific channels that like I always go to would be like the resources, the opportunities, and those are the things that are like very exclusive to the DAO itself, as well as VC5.
Yeah.
But,
every day.
Yeah. I think those are ones that like I always like refer to, because the people in the DAO have so much to share, whether it's one person sharing like a link to an article that they read, or just an article that they created themselves that just simplifies the entire process of, ERC20 tokens, whatever it may be. And just making it so much easier for anyone that like doesn't know anything about crypto or Web3, or someone that's like way too advanced and knows everything, that there's always something to learn.
Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, like completely. And there are like VC5 is amazing. Like for anyone who is in the DAO, who doesn't hang out in Voice Chat 5, like go hang out in Voice Chat 5. Yeah. There's sick lo-fi beats and people with really good vibes that are there to help you. And then like, yeah, exactly as you say, right? There's places where you can go to like learn certain things. I think we still obviously have a massive challenge around like it's difficult to like onboard yourself into the DAO and kind of like find these spaces. And a lot of good work has been done onboarding by Luan and Wise T, and Hamza and Alex, which already is having a really, really good impact, I think, as far as I can tell. And I know that they've got much more plans, which I think is going to be really, really good for kind of helping new joiners like find their place and understand where they can get the value that they want from the DAO.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like it's good. I like it. Like there's huge improvements that we can make, and it's never going to be like finite. Nothing's ever going to be finished. But yeah, I think those problems to tackle, and like, to me at least, it feels like a focus on education in season 1 would be like a really good, valuable step for everyone in the DAO over the next kind of like few months as we get into season 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the one thing that I really appreciate about, like, VC5 and then the DAO in general is that like it's so global, and you're gonna get so many people from different experiences and walks of life joining the DAO. So if you were to convince your neighbor or your next door neighbor today to join the DAO, what would what would be your one-liner of getting them to actually join the DAO, be an active member?
Yeah, it's probably vibes, right? Like, it is probably vibes. Like, we've been chatting about like, well, when we haven't actually chatted, but like we maybe haven't produced the level of output that we might want to as a DAO, everything going on. But like, there is no doubt that like, I don't think I've been in a space before where like the vibes are, like, broadly speaking, so positive, and like people are super friendly and want to help each other and want to see everyone else succeed, right? Like, some of the best things that I've seen about the DAO is like how much people celebrate when like someone's got their first job in Web3, or even just their next job in Web3, right? And it's like, it's amazing to see that. Like Daiwa, right? Everyone loves Daiwa. Absolute dude. Meeting him was amazing.
100%.
Yeah, seeing him get that DevRel job that he wanted, like, was just so good. Same with Josh. Like, I love Josh as well. Like, I've met both of them a few times now. Super nice guys. And yeah, like, anyone that's gone on that journey and got that job, like, most of them have ended up at Anchor. But but there's been other stories as well. But like, it's just amazing to see like people in that space go on and like achieve things, and like hopefully a lot of stuff has been achieved in the DAO already, but like hopefully like it becomes easier for people to also achieve really like more and more within the scope of the DAO, as well as like the DAO allowing them to achieve beyond its borders or whatever. Borders is a bad phrase for a DAO, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then the other thing too is that beyond just like the supportive and like good vibes that you get, everyone's really honest too. If that's something I really appreciate, it's like, I think in different communities that I've been part of in the past and things like that, is that even if there is a really good culture, you're not going to get that same honesty and support of making sure that they want you to see, like, they want you to be successful, right? And which is something that like happens to be very neat, like really empowering in the DAO, because no matter, even if you've never met the person, which Daiwa, I've only met him through Twitter and VC5, things like that. It just made me so happy to see him tweeting about like, I'm gonna chase after the dev role, and then to like say like, I got it. And just that short journey, it was short, but
even
so well.
Just like seeing the journey, it's
Exactly,
just like, that's so cool. Yeah, man, I completely agree.
It was amazing to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last two questions that I have would be for anyone that joined the DAO. If they were to join today and they're just opening the Discord and things like that, what would you recommend for them to do?
All the normal stuff around introducing yourself, but I think the biggest thing, and this isn't easy for everyone, lots of people don't find this natural, but is to like, don't be afraid to speak and share your ideas and share your thoughts. Definitely join the onboarding calls with Luan, Alex, Hamza, Wise T and Co. I think they're showing to be really, really valuable for people. And then I would say anywhere after those calls, like you should get like a sense of like how the DAO is structured, but like we all know that there's some work to do there. But like just go to one of those spaces that you think you'll find interesting and just join a call and introduce yourself, or share something that you're working on and like ask for feedback. And if you do that, like it's definitely daunting coming into a space, I think, for lots of people where there's like 4,000 to 5,000 people, maybe like a few hundred of people that are active, and like you're the new person.
Yeah.
But in Developer DAO, if you just introduce yourself and like share a bit about yourself and kind of are able to cross that barrier, like everyone's just so friendly. And like if there is something in the space for someone to get some enjoyment or value out of, like you will find it if you speak to people, basically. So the main thing is just like try and get over that barrier and introduce yourself and make yourself known and join some calls. And hopefully before long, although you'll never learn all the channels in the Discord at the moment, like you'll probably find your niche, you'll find your people, and there's lots of good stuff, and like as I said, like enjoyment and value to be taken from it.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Like asking dumb questions is always the perfect way to go. Just asking like, why is there? Because I think every single person that joined, whether it was like in November or like me in March, the questions are always the same of like, where do I go? Everyone's like supportive and just like happy to answer that because everyone's gone through it and themselves.
So there are so many channels. Where do I go?
Yeah.
Well, just don't worry about the channels. Just go join one of these calls, and like people will help you out. And it's like even for you, man. Like me and you had never met before. Like half an hour before this call, I think we had exchanged messages, and I think like I was definitely aware of the awesome stuff that you were doing, but like there's like different areas of the DAO where people are doing like really cool stuff, and like they can be completely independent of other areas. And like all of a sudden there's this like cool video like series going on, like talking to people in the DAO and getting to know them like we're doing now. Like I was like, I've seen that name, but like I've never spoken to Terja, and like this is really, really cool. And it's like it's just like it's cool that like stuff like that can just like happen in different places, and then it comes out, and like everyone has that opportunity to do that. It's cool to see.
Yeah, like everyone's intertwined in some way. You can like that saying of like you're only like 3 people away from like the person you would always dreamt of meeting or something like that. Yeah. I feel like in the DAO it's like 1 person away that you can always
just say hi and you'll probably meet like
yeah.
friend. Yeah.
Exactly. I definitely did not want to forget if you want to just talk about perks, because that's a really awesome project that you're building.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to. So it's Ben's in the server at the moment. The idea is contributors of DAOs, initially developer DAO, can log into a platform which will allow them to redeem benefits for being part of that DAO. So at the moment, that's basically discounts on tools that they're likely to use, like RPC providers, and maybe like crypto financial tools, like tax tracking tools, like Coinly. In the future, maybe that might evolve so DAOs can offer like custom benefits. So like, I don't know how this might evolve in developer DAO if we go down that route and everyone feels like it's a good product that the DAO should use. But like maybe anyone that's has a certain threshold of tokens gets like free merch a season, or anyone that's earned blah tokens in rewards for awesome contributions gets some other X benefit from the DAO. So there's some cool stuff that you can do, but I think the best thing about it, there's 2 really important things for me about it at the moment. The first one is being able to give something back, and for people to be able to receive more value from being members, not only of Developer DAO, but other DAOs, and particularly small DAOs who don't have like large treasuries, or like their tokens like out and it doesn't have much value, and but they're contributing and they should be rewarded. So like Surge Women is a really good example. and it's kind of like the same thing, but they've done it all themselves. But like, it's cool that people could join that community, and it's got a really good mission, but it's also got some like cool perks and benefits that you can get on the side whilst they're still figuring out how to make it like a sustainable space. And then I think the second thing is, there's been a lot of, I think there've been projects in the DAO where they've started and they've done like lots of really cool stuff initially. And then for whatever reason, like maybe largely like DAO structural reasons or unclear pathways for people to be able to do stuff, or if they're allowed to do stuff, like, and like no lacking clarity around that. And then also like no way to support those projects really in terms of like governance rewards or funding. Like a lot of those projects have started off really, really well. And then because those support mechanisms aren't there, they maybe haven't reached their full potential. So I'm hopeful that when we get the token out and they can apply for budgets, we can start recognizing those people and helping like reinvigorate them and reward them and incentivize them to either start new projects or maybe pick up some of those other projects. There's some really cool stuff that's been done, like proof of competence, web free UI with Daiwa and Co. And several other initiatives. And I guess with perks, like it's what I hope to do with it is to be able to maybe walk that path a little bit, and maybe that might help with laying the rails for people to be able to then do that as well. Because I think we've got like a big focus on building public goods, which is amazing, and I know lots of people are passionate about that, but we definitely have people in our community who have all sorts of ideas that they want to build, right? And it would be amazing if Developer DAO could be a space where they feel like it's the right place to build those things, because the DAO will support them and on any number of different levels. And yeah, so give back and then kind of like figure out what a path, how to go from like 0 to 1 on a project, and then how that might translate back into how other people maybe can like walk that same path as well, assuming that we don't completely screw it up and it breaks as soon as we get it out there, but hopefully not.
I mean, if that happens, then it just means that you're gonna have a lot of attention, a lot of positivity going around. So that means you're just gonna keep, reinventing it. So
well, hopefully, like I'm talking about it here, but to be quite frank, I've built none of it. So Jazz, although that's his ENS handle, hates being called Jazz, James. Martin, Phil, and Colin have done basically all the work. Yeah, like I like it. I think it looks great. I think everyone's very excited to create something basically. But yeah, like my primary focus at the moment really is trying to unblock as much as possible around getting the foundation up so we can get the token launched, so we can reward people and kind of get out of their way basically. And I think there's like a fair bit of built up frustration around the time that's taken and the friction that's put on people just being able to just go and do what they want to do. So yeah, perks is a side thing, but I hope it has some good benefits for the DAO around what we discussed. And then like the big focus at the moment is let's get that foundation in place. Let's finish off like getting the systems that will allow the DAO to function and will provide people pathways to be able to do things, like have an idea all the way through to get funding for that idea or rewards for that idea. And it's like, yeah. And I think once we get past that, like I'm really, really excited for like what will happen after that.
Sweet. I think it's just a matter of time, to be honest. And I know there's a lot of like lines that are being that are having to be created or like crossed, things like that, just because this is not something that's been standard. There are a lot of banks banks are structured, things like that. But what we're doing at Developer DAO is so different. And it's awesome to see like, you know, you take the initiative from the start and then having say a couple months down, just like you said from in the beginning of just you never know how life is going to be. And the spontaneous way just allowed us to meet. So I don't think we would have met if we were to go back in December. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think wrapping up this call, one thing I want to ask you is for everyone curious to just, find you,
Yeah.
to, find some time to chat with you or just to, tweet at you. Well, is there a way for them to contact you?
Yeah, like anyone in the DAO DMs, whenever you want. I can sometimes be really crap at replying to them. I do, but I will always try and eventually come back. Like VC5, often hanging out there, not so much in the last week or so, but if you ever see me on a voice call, like sometimes when I'm like working through some DAO stuff, I'll just sit on those calls and like just be working. So like come say hi. Twitter's a thing as well if you want to. I'm not the most responsive there, to be honest with you. Like there's too many places where DMs are. So I think Discord is the main place for people in the community. And then I'd say people outside of the community, like try Twitter and I will do my best to pick it up. But yeah, Discord is the main place. Yeah.
It's definitely hard because there's so many social media platforms and trying to manage all of them. It's pretty hard when it comes to like, oh, did I respond to that one person on that one platform that I've been?
Oh mate, I've got a product for you. So there's if you go on text.com, it's like an app that brings DMs for all of these different platforms together. So you can have your Twitter DMs, your Discord DMs, your WhatsApp, like all in one app. And like it's really good, but it's also like maybe the cause of anxiety and stress because you can see all of them. But
I saw an ad about it actually. So you mentioning this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to actually do it and get it. Okay, cool.
It's still in like I think it might like be in a beta. So hit me up afterwards and like I may or may not. I can't remember how I got it, but like every now and again they give you an invite. So if it's still in, I'll try to sort it out.
100%. Thanks so much. But yeah, absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining the podcast today. And any last questions or last thoughts you want to share?
It's been fun, man. No, not really. Like super grateful to everyone in the DAO. Super grateful to a lot of the core contributors. Particularly recently around a lot of the challenges that we're trying to solve that maybe we were holding on to too closely. Like very, very grateful to those people for like helping like push that out into a more open space and the feedback that was given and the efforts that are being made to take it forward. And I guess, look forward to us wrapping off season 0 and having a good focus for our season 1 and being able to see people getting rewarded and learning and shipping some cool shit.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Kemp, and hopefully we'll see you again in the DAO this time.
Yeah, man, sure. I'll see you on VC5. Nice one.